I'm Patricia King. I'm 75 years old. At 70, I was dying from being cheap. My doctor said my heart was a ticking time bomb from stress, and my husband George was a stranger living in the same house. Then I started spending my savings, and my health improved immediately. Let me tell you what happened. It started on my 70th birthday. George, ever the sweetheart, planned a nice dinner at a place right here in Rock Hill. The kids called. The grandkids sang over the phone. It was supposed to be perfect. Then the bill came. I saw the total, and my chest locked up. A full-blown panic attack right there at the table. Not about my health, about the money. I started calculating in my head what that could have paid for, how many hours I'd spent under a hood to earn it. I couldn't breathe. When I finally looked up, I saw George's face. The hope in his eyes from planning the surprise just vanished. That's when I knew I'd broken something. Engines side by side. But we couldn't fix this silence. He'd suggest a movie, my favorite hobby, and I'd say, "We can watch something here." He stopped asking. That silence became the background noise of my life, you see, until a visit from my granddaughter shattered it. A week later, my daughter brought the grandkids over. Lily, the youngest, was all excitement. She'd seen an ad for the new dinosaur exhibit at the museum in Charlotte. She tugged my hand. "Nana, can we go? Please?" My mouth moved before my brain. "Oh, honey, that's so expensive." The light in her eyes just died. She didn't ask again. My daughter gave me this look, sad, pitying, as they bundled everyone into the car. That look haunted me. It followed me right into my doctor's office for my annual physical. Dr. Sharma had my chart. Blood pressure, dangerous. Stress hormones, through the roof. She put the paper down and looked me right in the eye. "Patricia, your finances are pristine. Your body is not. This constant stress, this fear of spending." I drove home in a daze, her question echoing. I walked into my quiet house, and George was waiting. He was at the kitchen table. He didn't say hello, just slid 2 printed tickets toward me. A weekend at a beach inn on the coast. "It's booked," he said, his voice flat. "Non-refundable. We leave Friday." He looked older than his years, exhausted by me, by my fear. I opened my mouth, the automatic, "We can't afford this," on my lips. But Dr. Sharma's voice was louder. I looked at George's tired face, and for the first time, I saw the cost. In that moment, I didn't see a bank statement. I saw a ledger of loss. 5 years of skipped bowling league nights. Dozens of movies we didn't see together. Vacations we couldn't justify. The growing distance in our own bed. I saw Lily's disappointed face. I was investing in a future that was shrinking every day while bankrupting my present. The security I craved was an illusion. I closed my mouth, took a breath that felt like my first in years. Okay, I said, let's pack. We drove to the coast. We ate seafood at a place right on the pier, listening to the waves. I ordered the scallops without looking at the price. George told a story about a carburetor job from '88, and I laughed, a real deep laugh that made my sides hurt. I realized halfway through dinner I hadn't thought about money once. I was just there with him. That weekend was a reset button. We came home and I looked at our life with new eyes. I didn't go wild. I was still Patricia the mechanic, practical. But I started spending with intention. I booked us back into the bowling league. I bought a new camera for my photography, a good one. I called my daughter and said, "Get the kids. We're going to the dinosaur exhibit. My treat." The joy in her voice was worth every penny. George started smiling again, and something remarkable started to happen. My body began to change. At my next checkup, Dr. Sharma was amazed. My blood pressure had dropped significantly. My anxiety was manageable. The chronic ache in my shoulders from a lifetime of hunching over engines, gone. I was sleeping through the night. The medicine wasn't a pill, it was experience. It was laughter with George, the sound of bowling pins crashing, the wonder on my grandkids' faces. My health improved because I stopped treating my life like a problem to be solved with money. That was 5 years ago. The savings account is smaller, but it did its real job. It bought me back my husband. It bought me moments with my 9 grandkids I'd have missed. It bought me Tuesday night movies and Wednesday morning bakery runs with George. The money was just a tool. The real currency is time and connection and joy. That photo of George and me with our bowling trophy, that's my real security. The memory is the only thing you get to keep. So if you're listening to this, clutching your own ledger of fear, I need you to hear this last part. You still have time. It doesn't have to be a cruise. Start small, but start now. Look at your savings. Now look at your calendar. Make them work together. Book the trip. Buy the better seats. Say yes to the museum. Do it with the people you love. Don't let your fear of a rainy day steal all your sunny ones. Your heart, the real one, and the emotional one, will thank you. I'm Patricia King, and I'm telling you, start spending your life. Start spending your life. That's what I did. And it wasn't just about writing checks. It was about changing my whole way of thinking. You see, for so long, my mind was a machine, always calculating, always subtracting. Every potential joy had a price tag, and that price tag was always too high. After that weekend with George, I had to retrain my brain. It was like learning a new skill at 70, and let me tell you, it was harder than any transmission job. The first real test came a month later. It was a Tuesday. George came home from getting the mail, and he had a flyer. The community center was starting a beginner's photography class. Now, photography had always been my someday hobby. I'd take pictures with my old point and shoot, but I never let myself want more. George held out the flyer. Look at this, Pat. You'd be great. I took it, saw the cost. My throat started to close. That old familiar panic. The number danced in front of my eyes. I could hear the voice in my head. That's a grocery bill. That's a utility payment. That's money that should just sit there. But then I looked at George. He was watching me, hopeful, but braced for my no. I saw the tickets on the kitchen table from our trip. I heard Dr. Sharma's voice. What are you saving your life for? I took a breath. You know, I said, my voice a little shaky, I've always wanted a proper camera, one of those digital ones. George's face lit up like I'd given him the sun. Well then, he said, simple as that. Let's go get you one. We didn't go that day. We went that hour. Drove to the camera store in Charlotte. I walked in feeling like an imposter. The young guy behind the counter asked what I was looking for. I almost said, nothing, just browsing. My old shield. Instead, I heard myself say, I want to learn. I like taking pictures of my grandkids and the birds in my backyard. He was nice, didn't talk down to me. He showed me a camera. It felt solid in my hands. I looked at the price. It was a lot. I started to put it back. George put his hand on my arm. Patricia, he said quiet, just my name, but it meant remember the coast, remember laughing. I picked the camera back up. I bought it. I signed up for the class. Writing that check felt like jumping off a cliff, But driving home with that camera box on my lap, I felt light. I hadn't bought an object. I bought a promise to myself. The class was full of people younger than me, but I didn't care. I learned about aperture and shutter speed. I started seeing my own town, Riverside, through the lens. I'd take my camera to the bowling alley, capturing George's concentration, the way the light gleamed on the polished lanes. I took pictures of the mechanic shop where we used to work. The old sign faded, but still there. It was like I was documenting a life I was finally allowing myself to live. Then came the dinosaur expedition. I called my daughter Sarah. Next Saturday, I said, we're all going, my treat. The silence on the other end was different from George's sad silence. It was stunned. Mom, are you sure? I've never been more sure, I told her, and I meant it. That Saturday, I met them at the museum, all 9 grandkids, from the teenagers trying to act cool to little Lily, who ran right up and grabbed my hand. You came, Nana, she said, like it was a miracle. I told you we would, I said, and I squeezed her hand. We spent the whole day there. I didn't look at the gift shop prices. I bought them all lunch in the cafeteria, the overpriced pizza and juice boxes. I watched their faces, lit up by the towering T-Rex skeleton. I took 100 pictures. Not one of them was of a price tag. The cost that day was a number in my register. The value was the sound of my grandchildren's laughter echoing in that great hall, the feeling of Lily's small hand trusting mine. It was Sarah giving me a hug as we left, whispering, "Thank you, Mom. This means everything." "Patricia," she said, "this is remarkable." She showed me the numbers. My blood pressure had dropped 20 points. My resting heart rate was normal. The stress markers she'd been tracking were cut in half. "Whatever you're doing," she said, putting the chart down, "keep doing it. This is the healthiest you've been in a decade." George was in the garage, tinkering with an old lawnmower engine for a neighbor. I walked in and just stood there, watching him. His hands, still so sure with a wrench. He looked up and saw my face. "Everything okay, Pat?" he asked, his voice tight with that old familiar worry, the worry about me. "Everything's good," I said, and my voice cracked. "Better than good." I told him what Dr. Sharma said. I showed him the numbers on the printout she'd given me. "I thought I was losing you," he whispered, his voice rough. "Not to death, maybe, but to the worry. You were just disappearing into it. I didn't know how to get you back." We stood there for a long time. When we finally pulled apart, both of us a mess, He looked at me and managed a shaky smile. "So," he said, "what should we break the bank on next?" We laughed. It was wet and snotty and perfect. But the real moment, the one that drove the lesson right through my heart, came a few days later. I was organizing my new photography prints on the dining table. Pictures of the grandkids at the museum, of George bowling, of a cardinal in our backyard. Lily was over, coloring at the other end of the table. She was quiet, concentrating on staying in the lines. Out of nowhere, she looked up. "Nana," she said. "Yes, sweetheart? I'm glad you're not sick anymore." I put the photo down. "What do you mean, honey?" She shrugged her little shoulders, her eyes back on her coloring. "Mommy said you were sick before, in your head, that you were too worried to have fun. But now you have fun with us." She looked up again, her face so serious. "Are you better?" I couldn't speak. The air left my lungs. My daughter had tried to explain my miserliness to my granddaughter as an illness. And she was right. It was. It was the sickness of the spirit that was killing my body. And this little girl had seen the cure before I had. Fun, connection, presence. "Yes, Lily," I said, my throat so tight it hurt. "I'm all better." "Good," she said, and went back to her coloring, as if she just confirmed the sun was shining. That was it. That was the moment the last wall crumbled. The fear wasn't prudent. It wasn't responsible. It was a sickness. And I had been infecting everyone around me with it. I had made my husband feel helpless. I had made my children make excuses for me. I had taught my grandchildren that I valued money more than time with them. I sat at that table, surrounded by the pictures of the life I was finally living, and I let the full weight of what I'd almost lost crush me. Not the money. I had never been in danger of losing the money. I was in danger of losing them. George, Sarah, and the others, Lily and her 8 cousins. I was saving for a future where I'd be alone, surrounded by a pile of money and a mountain of regret. The understanding was so simple, it was brutal. The ledger was real, but I'd been reading it wrong my whole life. On one side wasn't my bank balance. It was George's laugh. It was Lily's hand in mine. It was the feeling of a bowling ball leaving my fingers. On the other side was just a number that bought nothing unless I was brave enough to spend it. I was done being a custodian of digits. I wanted to be a participant in my own life. And for the first time, I knew exactly how to start. I wanted to be a participant in my own life, and for the first time, I knew exactly how to start. I started with the bowling league. George and I showed up that first night back, and some of the old team was still there. They clapped us on the back. "The Kings are back," someone yelled. I picked up that ball, and for the first time in years, I wasn't thinking about my arthritis or my heart. I was thinking about the lane, the pins, the feel of the wood under my shoes. I rolled a strike. The sound of those pins crashing was like fireworks. George whooped, and the smile on his face was the one I'd fallen in love with 50 years ago in that very same garage. That was the real return on investment. Here's what I learned. Sitting here now at 75, looking at all these photos I've taken, I was wrong. I was so deeply wrong about what security is. I thought it was a number in a bank account, a fortress against some future storm. But the storm wasn't coming. It was already here. It was the quiet hurricane of missed opportunities blowing through my own house, chilling my marriage, leaving my grandchildren disappointed. The real security isn't in what you have. It's in what you experience. It's in the network of love and memory you build. A full savings account can't hug you back. It can't laugh at your bad jokes. It can't hold your hand on a porch at sunset. George can. My grandkids can. I learned that my body was the most honest ledger of all. For years, it tallied every anxious thought, every clenched fist over a restaurant bill, every night spent lying awake, worrying about a future that was, by all practical measures, already financially secure. Dr. Sharma called it self-harm, and she was right. I was slowly, diligently harming myself with fear. The moment I started spending, not wildly, but wisely, on experiences, my body sent the receipt. Lower blood pressure, better sleep, the ache in my shoulders gone. The medicine wasn't in a bottle. It was in the salt air of the coast, the flash of my new camera, the weight of a bowling ball in my hand. My health improved because I finally gave my body something to live for, not just to survive. So here is my direct advice to you, especially if you hear that little voice in your head that sounds like mine used to, that voice that says, it's too expensive. Before it even asks, would it bring joy? Tell that voice to be quiet, just for a minute. Look at your savings. Now honestly, look at your life. Are you living it, or are you just maintaining it? I'm not telling you to be reckless. I was a mechanic for 40 years. I believe in good maintenance. But your life is not a car to be kept in the garage. It's meant to be driven, to feel the wind, to go places. You still have time. I almost didn't. I had 5 years of a cold, silent marriage before I woke up. 5 years I can't get back. But I got the next 5, and they have been the richest of my life. Not because of the money spent, but because of the fear I released, the weight I put down. You can put that weight down too. Your heart, the physical muscle, and the emotional center is begging you to. This channel is full of stories like mine. People who've lived a little and learned a lot the hard way. If what I've said today rings true for you, if you see a bit of your own fear in my story, then hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. I might have more to share, and there are other folks here with wisdom you might need to hear. Leave me a comment down below. Tell me, what's one thing you've been putting off because of cost? One experience you've denied yourself or your family. Just naming it is the first step. And if this story hit home, hit the like button. It lets me know this mattered. Share it with someone you care about who might be stuck in that same cycle of saving for a someday that's already here. If you have your own story, a lesson you've carved out of living, there's a form in the description. The folks who run this channel are always looking for real stories from real people. Maybe yours will be the one that helps someone else step out of their fear. A book that helped me frame all this later on is called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying by Bronnie Ware. The biggest one? I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. My version of that was living a life true to my fear, not to my heart. Links are in the description if you're interested. Don't make my mistake. Don't let a rainy day that might never come steal all your sunny ones. The sun is out right now. Feel it on your face. I'm Patricia King. I spent my life savings, and in return, I bought back my life. You can too. Start spending yours.